You might remember Paul Chinook from last year as one of my guest co-hosts. Well, this year he's keeping busy with some amazing projects. We followed him out to Sylvan Lake to see what he was up to.
Hi, my name is Paul Chinook. I'm one of the owners of the Red Barn Lumber Company. Today we're here on the shores of Sylvan Lake to reclaim this beautiful cedar cabin for a family that needs to have it taken out so they can build their new cabin. The reason why we were called to reclaim this beautiful cabin is, even though it's been immaculately maintained like this, when it was built in 1959, it was never built to be a Four Seasons cabin. And what that means is all the plumbing and all the lines underneath the cabin aren't insulated. Traditionally, we usually reclaim from rural areas, a lot more barns, granaries, and stuff like that. But when we were called out to come take a look at this one, I just couldn't pass up because of the quality of material that's in this building. It's pretty rare for us to come across a building that's all lumber like this one. There's no insulation, there's no drywall. All there really was carpet and wood, and more wood. It's one of the most fascinating things with reclaiming is we never really know what we're going to find until we start getting into the building. I keep hoping to find that gold brick that's out there, but haven't found it yet. But what we did find in this one is we found somebody, while the cement of the chimney was drying, was somebody taking their finger and put 1959 in, which again reaffirms our date of when the building was constructed, so that when we go to resell it, that we can have that accuracy that we are selling a building that was built in this era and when we reclaim it. Okay, this is a tongue and groove western red cedar, most likely from the interior of BC where it was harvested. It's a fairly rare wood. They can grow up to be over 300 feet tall, the trees. They have many uses, and they were actually very significant to the indigenous Pacific Northwestern natives for their uses, and they deemed it to be a spiritual tree as well because of the massive size that they would grow to. So this is a tongue and groove 6-inch by 3-inch cedar that for this wall you would the nice thing is there's no nails. It just clicks together almost like Lego. Stuff like this looks fantastic when our furniture guys get a hold of it and they inlay some wood inside of it. It'd make a great bar up against the wall once you bolt it up against the wall. So that's definitely material that we keep. You can definitely tell that it's very 60s style by the way that it's with the way that the wrought iron's done in it. And then over here, we have all the windows that came out of the house. Now, a lot of our furniture makers, cabinet makers, and woodworkers that we work with, they also like these windows a lot because there's a lot of great things you can do with them. You can put chalkboards in them, mirrors, pictures. You can inlay with them with all kinds of stuff. So this is definitely stuff that we like to keep. And it's actually fairly rare to find windows that have a cedar frame. They're usually a Douglas fir frame. So these are definitely something that we want to hold on to. And usually when we get to a building, the first thing we do is we go through and we take all the stuff out of the inside and take it down to a shell so that we don't break anything. So we definitely make sure that we go through and take everything out and put it off to the side before we start really taking the building down. Again, another clue to the date of this building is a lot of the hardware that's original to this building. These types of doorknobs and stuff, as compared to this one, as you can tell, is definitely a dated piece of hardware. So this is definitely a lot of 60s type hardware we see here, which again leads to the clue of the building. So this is one of the most fascinating things about reclaiming, in my opinion, is we always stumble across all kinds of really cool artifacts, dates, and stuff like that. So when we first got here, before we started taking this building apart, there was a wooden mantle over top of this cement. The new owners of this building have owned this cabin for 15 years, so nobody knew that there was a date that had been put in the concrete that says 1959 here, as well as a lucky 1960s penny that I'm sure somebody put in the mantle place for good luck with their lucky penny. So stuff like this is definitely stuff that we want to make sure that we pass on to the owners of the new building so that they can include that in their new building and keep that tradition and keep that history. So what we have here, these were the storage units in the dining room area. There were the corner units. They might not look like the prettiest girl at the dance right now, but once our furniture makers get through with them and put a new countertop on the top, new knobs on them, and maybe a little bit new finishing, these things will definitely be a centerpiece of a new home or new cabin somewhere that'll look absolutely stunning when they're given a different look and brought up to date. Other dated items that we find, we found this as a shelf inside one of the closets that has a company's name and date and address in Calgary. So that was most likely the date when the company was founded, and then its name and location. So that's definitely something that we'll make sure that we pass on to that company if they're still in business, so that can be a centerpiece in their business as well. And again, to show the date of this building, this bright yellow countertop definitely tells me right away that this was original hardware to the 1960s. I don't think you would see that in anything past 1965. So with a lot of the barns we find, we also come across a lot of very unique items inside those barns, and we never know what we're going to come across. That, again, is one of the things that keeps drawing me back to coming to work every morning, taking down old buildings. Thinking back, there was one building that we took down that had these glass globes that had been mounted all along the top of the roof in the bottom and upstairs part of the barn up in the loft. It had us puzzled for a few days as to what they were. They were a glass globe that was sitting inside a metal wire housing. At first we thought, are they to keep insects away? Do you tell temperature with them? But they were sealed and there was nothing floating in them. So we did a little bit of research, and what it turns out they were is a thing called a fire grenade. And now what that is they were made from 1910 to about 1930, and they were kind of a precursor to a fire extinguisher. And what they would do is they'd be mounted at hand height, so you could either grab it and throw it at the fire, hence the term grenade, or have them mounted up in the ceiling like a fire suppression system. So as the heat of the fire continued to rise, it would expand the little metallic strip on the back, and once it kicked off its little catch, a hammer would spring up and hit the glass, and you'd get all of a cup worth of water on the fire, which the reason why they were placed is a cup worth of water is essentially useless in a fire. Our furniture makers and our arts and crafts people and the people that buy from us have amazing creativity with the materials that we supply them. It continually blows my mind as to what these people come up with for projects with this stuff that just looks amazing. So what will be left when we leave is we'll take it pretty much right down to the floor, and then after that the excavation crew will come through and take out what's left, because there's really no value in anything that would be below that, unfortunately.
The cabinets that were up in Sylvan Lake were transported to Okotoks, where a local company called Two Birds will be transforming them.
My name is Clint Pigeon, and our company is Two Birds Furniture. And my wife's name is Robin Brown. And we started this about 2 years ago now. And we do reclaimed furniture. So we take down the building. We also work together with other guys on dismantling buildings. We purchase raw materials, and we recreate it into feature walls, furniture, pretty much anything you can think of. You can come in and design it right with us. So we're a little bit different, that we kind of diversify too. We do a lot of different things. We don't just stick with furniture. We also do the feature walls and the mantles. So the diversity is also a huge thing. Well, what we're talking about doing with this unit is turn it into kind of a corner unit for a corner bar unit, actually. So we're going to replace the top and use some reclaimed fir and kind of do a whitewash on the top, as well as a whitewash and a sand on the front. And then we're talking about, we're going to put new handles and hinges, kind of modernize it a little bit. And then on the inside, since I don't have to do too much to it, we're probably just going to do one solid color inside, and then we're going to put a couple shelves in here to put your whiskey cups and your scotch glasses, and it'll kind of be a perfect little unit in somebody's little studio apartment, and it's kind of a space saver, so you don't have a huge bar unit, but you have a nice little place to serve people. You can pour your drinks and have your pop and stuff on the top. Well, it keeps things out of the landfill, and the landfills are so overburdened with the material going in. Big problem, there's too many people and there's too much product going into these places, and there's not enough places to put it. So if we can reuse, it doesn't matter what it is, but the wood's a big thing. We'd like to have a welding shop beside, as well as a lumber yard, actually right beside us, all in one facility, kind of a small artisan group, where you can kind of go through, pick your lumber, go through the design process, go to the welder, and it all comes together in the end, and you can do full houses that way.